passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
Welcome to another episode of Jonsuntitledpod, a partner of MoshPitNation.com. This episode's guest is, we're going to stay here in Michigan. We're going to hang out with Jamie Madrox, half of the duo that makes up Twiztid. And we're going to go back to Daniel Terry, who makes up one half of this duo. How are you doing, Mr. Daniel Terry?
I'm doing all right. Pretty good evening.
Little bit of a behind how the sausage is made here. We totally had a different episode that you were going to hear today. It's done. It's edited. It's technically uploaded. Unfortunately, though, you won't be able to hear it until Sunday. And there's going to be a big surprise in that one too. But this one basically, it was just a really good episode, and there's some information contained within that the guys over at Twiztid were fine with me putting out and kind of breaking the news on it. So in the event that potentially, I'm just going to say, because I have a feeling Fago Lovers is going to share this, so I'm going to preemptively say thank you, Fago Lovers, for sharing this, because they did with my King Gordy episode and said if I had anything related to, you know, the Juggalos and ICP and Twiztid and anything in that revolves around that world, they would more than gladly share it for me. So I'm going to preemptively say thank you to anyone listening to this from Fago Lovers, and chances are the thing you're going to be looking for is going to be probably toward the end of the episode. All that being said, though, it was really cool getting Jamie on. I've actually been trying to get him or Monoxide on for really since before Warped Tour, and it just hasn't really panned out. And somehow, you know, thanks to Natalie and over at Adrenaline PR, we were able to make this happen pretty quickly. And so got out of work, did this chat, had a lot of fun with it. Jamie was really a fun guest to have on, didn't shy away from any of the questions I asked, gave really good answers. And, I think when you're doing a podcast, that's really what makes this fun, is when you get to talk to someone and they have fun doing it.
Yeah, it's so funny when you do these interviews with people that I'm always like, nah, no interest. And then I listen to the interview and I'm like, he seems like a pretty cool guy. I'll check out some of his music, and that's definitely where I'm at with Twiztid right now. But I it sounds dumb, but I am kind of a fan of the horror element of all of it. Didn't realize any of that was there, and being in the middle of October, it's pretty much the perfect time for me to step in and take a look.
Right. I just always think it's funny, in the last handful of years, I've really tried to just adopt a mindset that if I don't like something, it's okay. I don't have to tear it down. I don't have to shit on somebody else. It's okay to just not like something and be like, it's not for me. But if it's for you, that's cool. I mean, this is, and, there's other terrible analogies and metaphors throughout this conversation, not just by me, but I'll add this one to the pot. But, and there's another bad one. But it was one of those things, I remember going out with this girl and she was like, oh, what's your favorite band? And I was like, oh, one of my favorite bands is this band Him. And she was like, oh, I really love Hanson. And this is someone that was, I think at the time I was 26-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was your favorite band? She goes, no, they're still my favorite band. I love that band. And I was like, oh. And I started to I quickly, did that thing where most of us do, where I started to come up with the joke I could make, something I could say to belittle her feelings on the matter. And then I realized I was like, you know what? What's the fucking point? If that band brings this person happiness for whatever reason it is, who am I to shit on that? Because I know damn well if it was done to me, I'd be like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong, first of all. The band I like is the best, and they're the best for a reason, because they're the best. And it's no different for me to sit there and say, I love this band for X, Y, and Z, and for her to tell me, my favorite band is Hanson, and I love them because of X, Y, and Z. just because I don't like it doesn't make her opinion any less valid. And I think that's been the biggest thing I've tried to do, not only with music but just in life. Like if I don't, within reason, like if someone's like, what's great is fucking killing babies, I'd be like, I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's one of those because I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've only come to a lot of those realizations more recently, within the past couple of years. Because I didn't really think about it from the perspective of somebody else. See, like you said, when somebody tells me, "Oh, well, this band that you like sucks," hey, Dan, Zayo is terrible. I've got a encyclopedia of reasons why you're wrong. And I've got all that stuff loaded up, and I never really thought about how it made me feel when somebody would just belittle me based on that. Because I remember I met this guy at work a while back, and we got along really well, just like on the same page on jokes, and just we got along really well. We got a lot of work done together. He's a good dude. And then one day we're talking about music, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, Kid Rock, my favorite. I love everything Kid Rock's ever done." And I remember being like, I don't know if I could be friends with a Kid Rock fan. Like it was, one of those elitist metal moments. But it's like, well, why don't you like Kid Rock? Well, I don't like him because he makes redneck culture seem cool, and I'm not down with that, and I don't think that's cool, or I think it's really trashy, or I think it's this or that. But it's like, then I'm going to tell you that the bands that I like are better, even though, like, objectively it's dudes that beat drums really loud and scream like goats with their throats cut. You know what I mean? Like it's all so subjective.
No, it totally is.
And so it's like you're going to use that, like you're going to use the sounds that you enjoy as a means to categorize people. Like,
yeah.
That's pretty messed up, and that's why a lot of the I criticize music. Like I'd like to say professionally, but we'll see. But that was kind of part of my decision. Like, let's just take the albums as they go and listen to those and talk about what we like and dislike about them, giving everybody a fair shake. Because I get a lot of questions like, "What would you cover this band for this week? This band sucks." And I'll be like, "Well, we kind of said that, or we didn't say that, or we felt that it was this, or it was that." And opinions, man. I was trying to make this like huge point with all of it, but it's just, opinions are so dumb. And like I said, like, all I had to do was hear you talk to a dude for a half hour, and now I'm like, he seems like a cool dude. I'll check out his band.
Yeah. And I think that's as great of any place to stop this and get into that chat with a great dude. And this is my chat with Jamie from Twiztid, and we'll talk to you afterwards. So I have the pleasure of talking to Jamie Madrox from Twiztid this early afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're in Texas right now. It's very rainy and dismal, and it's the perfect October afternoon.
I mean, not for nothing. I mean, you've been on this tour for a little bit, so I mean, Saturday here in Michigan, in a matter of 15 minutes, it was perfectly sunny, horrible fucking rain, hail, back to raining, back to sunny.
That sounds like home. That's definitely Michigan weather. Before you break out your snow shovels and you lay down the ice for the salt, and vice versa, it's already leaves outside and the sun's coming up, and you got to have SP50.
That's true. Yeah, and then you're ready to go to the lake for a nice day swimming.
Indeed. Too much.
All that being said, something I kind of wanted to hit on a little bit is, you guys are in the process of releasing this trilogy. Started with Here by the Dead, Death Day, which I have a question for you, but I'll get to it after that. And then Trick or Treat, obviously, is coming out on the 26th, so 3 days from now. Yeah. What inspired this trilogy and to release it this way?
Well, we have been recording for our upcoming record. We've been in the studio for a while, so we had like a plethora of songs that most of them are going for the record. Some of them were just like one-off tracks, and obviously Halloween is like Christmas for us. So we're all about breaking off little gratuitous gifts to all of our listeners and family and so on and so forth. So it just kind of fell into the play like that. Here with the Dead is actually from the record. Death Day and Trick or Treat are obviously Halloween-infused tracks, one-offs, if you will, just for the season. And I don't know. It's something that we've always done, which we like to engage with our listeners and actually give them some substance and give them something to keep coming back.
So in listening to some of the newer songs, those the two that are out in conjunction with some of the rest of the output you guys have done, and this may be a weird question. So obviously Death Day is inspired by The Purge, lyrically, thematically, however you want to put it. And so something I kind of noticed in the beat, it borrows a sample, at least, and it may be from something else, but this is what I recognized it from Drake's Worst Behavior. And I wasn't sure if there was like kind of like a weird parallel between, you know, obviously the behavior of people who interact in The Purge would be someone technically on their worst behavior, if it was like a weird subtle kind of nod to that at all, or if I, again, just looking way too much into that like shit at all.
No, I mean, let me start here. I personally love how we do songs, and when me and Monoxide put songs together, either from the lyrical aspect or the musical aspect, we have set in our minds what we want to execute and put out. But I'm fascinated by what listeners take away from it. Like, we'll have an intention for a song, and someone will come away with such a left field from where we were idea, and I love that. I'm always intrigued by that. But to be honest with you, I've never heard the Drake song you speak of. At first, when I thought you said it, I thought it was a sitcom in the '80s or something, Drake's World or something like that. You actually mean like the rapper Drake, and that would be a producer question. I don't know. So I'm going to say no, definitely not that. But it's definitely inspired by The Purge. With it getting its television series and just the concepts, and it's always a good topic for debate, you know, like when you're sitting around and it's Halloween conversation times, and it's like, if there was a purge, would you do it? Would you purge?
Man, I don't know. I've thought of that. I mean, I won't go kill deer.
It's like voting questions. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about the purge.
Well, I thought that was Fight Club.
You gotta keep something inside voice, John. God damn it.
You know, speaking of your inside voice, you guys got to play outside a whole bunch and use your outside voices. And I know that was a terrible segue, but it is what it is.
No, that's fine. It is true. We did.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, you guys did a song, Superstar, and one of the lines that intrigued me a little bit was, you know, you talked about doing Warped Tour. And it made me wonder if my memory serves me, like, I know that was obviously before you did the tour. However, knowing how tours get booked and so forth, and some bands get offered these tours, you know, a year in advance, it made me wonder if that was like a little sprinkling of like a heads up, like, yeah, we knew we were doing Warp, we were just going to fucking have fun with this, or if it was just kind of a weird happy accident that happened to pan out the way it did.
No, to be honest with you, what had happened was, if you rewind backwards in time, we played the Warped Tour in, I want to say maybe it was 2005, okay. And it was not well received. It was predominantly a ska and punk rock a themed evening, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And we were kind of last minute impromptu thrown on the show. We were not well received, to say the absolute least, and we got like shit pelted at us. Like, literally, they were filling bottles of Gatorade bottles with wet sand. There was this kind of Woodstock. Everything was rainy, wet vibe, and mud everywhere. So they were like literally taking wet mud and sand and filling up Gatorade bottles and lobbing them at me and Monoxide. And I got hit in the chest with one of them, and I just completely broke character, jumped off stage, ran into the crowd, thugged on people. My brother was throwing people into the chain link fence. It was just a hot mess. So at that point in our life, we had a very not good taste in our mouth for those type of shows, and that one particularly. And then as time would have it and fate would have it, Kevin Lyman, who was getting ready to finish out the Warped Tour, is all about memories. And he said his memory of us and how horrible that all played out. So he honestly, and he's a great guy, and I love him for just any and everything I'm about to say. But he wanted to make that right with us and said, hey, look, I'm going to give you guys one more shot. And it could have went horrible. It could have went absolutely horrible. We could have been not well received one more time. But he had our best interest at heart. He believed in us. We believed in ourselves. And at that point in time, all the stars were in alignment, and we knocked it out of the park. But yeah, now in hindsight, looking back on that would be 1,000. It would be equivalent to you dating a girl, and then she fucks you over, and then you go on social media and you're like, she's a fucking bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
Same diff. We were a band scorned with Gatorade, wet bottles, and sand and anger. We lashed. It's how we do.
You know, something that was pretty interesting about this last year's Warped Tour for me was, I had a lot of friends and a lot of people that I know through other people on the tour. And sadly, I wasn't able to make it out this year because my wife and I were trying to go somewhere else other than Detroit to go see it because it's too fucking hot in Detroit. And
it was hot everywhere, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, and so it was crazy though to see, at the beginning of the Warped Tour and seeing some of the comments people were saying throughout the various social media platforms, kind of that you guys were not that your music was a joke or anything, but I don't think people were ready to accept you initially right out the gate. And then it seemed by like day 3 or 4, I started noticing more Instagram stories and, Snapchat stories and so forth of people at your set and then it was every single day and growing. Go ahead.
I think what it is, and that's all. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like, to me, I think that's where it starts, because I saw so many bands that when people were like, oh, dude, fuck Twiztid, it was like, and so many people then were like, no, fuck you, like, this band is the most punk rock band on this fucking tour, like, there is no one like them, and, everyone was going to bat for, like, the fact that, like, you guys put on a show, you go as hard as anyone else, you got a really fucking good drummer, you're connecting with people, like, you have, it was just really cool to see everyone kind of very quickly turn around. And to me, that is exactly what Warped Tour is and should be about is, everyone coming from all kinds of different demographics that maybe don't go together, but somehow at the end of the day, there's a common thread. And to me, I haven't really heard you guys do much interviews where someone kind of has spoken to that side of things, like where I have first-hand experience, like seeing people that you're touring with change and come around to embracing what you guys are doing.
Well, to start at the top, when with pretty much everything we do, we have this stigma on us and about us because we come from the Juggalo community, and as of late in the last 5 to 10 years, it's been a shitstorm of a lot of bad press, a lot of negativity, and a lot of people literally making up their own theories and throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. So if you hear nothing, if you legitimately hear nothing but negativity about a certain culture, about a certain demographic, and it's always negative and there's nothing good and it's a joke and it's, they rhyme cat with hat and fat and sat and it's, there's clowny beats and it's whatever, and that's all you hear, then you don't really understand, but you do form an opinion about it. So I think that's what it is. I think when we went into the Warped Tour, a lot of people thought we were going to come in on this, yo, dog, grabbing our nuts and being like these Malibu's most wanted. Yeah, they thought for lack of better terms, they thought we were going to be like another ICP and just come in on this, this arrogance or something like, like we're, it's not who we are. People's perception of who we are and who we really are completely different. Me and Paul made it a mission to go on the Warped Tour and show the world that Juggalos aren't the way that the media and most Juggalos have perceived us to be. That was our number one mission. to show the world that we are entertainers and a band who can do what we do and hold our own in that cultural diversity of everything from emo to screamo to metal to, I mean, we were in the midst of it. And for once in our fucking career, we were the alternative to the alternative.
Right. Yeah.
So that was refreshing. And I think that's what a lot of people were like, oh, it's just going to be this stupid, clowny rap thing. And it's like, oh, fuck, like you said, people were finding out. It's like, whoa, this is really pissed off. This is aggressive. This is punk, man. This is the shit. And more people were starting to understand, oh, it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was just another recreation of this other band and so on and so forth. So it was a great time for us to show and prove who we are.
Something that was kind of fun for me is I actually interviewed the band Phineas short within, I think they hopped off like 2 weeks into the Warped Tour run to do their own thing. Okay. And one of the dudes was wearing a Twiztid shirt, and we were talking about that for a little bit. And, obviously, like I said, and, I'm going to kind of hop off of this after this question, but, you guys are doing, obviously, the 2-date Halloween show with Motionless in White. There's, I think, one of the bands that really embraced you guys and has for a while, I think from the get-go, was Every Time I Die. They're one of my favorite bands. And so, they've been running with this thing, Tid versus Tid. So it makes me wonder, like, down the road, like, with the success of your run on Warped Tour, has it opened up some, on the business side, some more potential to start touring with other bands that maybe wouldn't have been open to you had you not done the Warped Tour?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll be totally presumptuous and say, yeah, because it's like it gave us an opportunity. It gave us a platform to be able to communicate with these bands and something as simple as, hey, I'm going to come check out your set. And you hang out with people and you party. And that's what we found out really quick, that the Warped Tour was all about the camaraderie, man. It was like you legitimately were part of a touring family. And people would come check out each other's sets and then afterwards hang out and have beer and, and just, and kick it. And that whole networking absolutely leads to, people, because it's not always just a business aspect. We were firm believers because we were cut from a cloth where everything is business and this, that, and the other. And to see another side of that spectrum and find out that, if bands really dig each other, they just go on tour. And they tell the business aspect people, you fucking figure it out. I don't care if we want to go on tour with you. That was unheard of to me and Paul from that point. It's always been business. Tell these people, this much money or we'll get this or that. You know what I mean? To be just like, fuck it, we're going on tour. It doesn't matter. We're going to make this happen. And I think that was cool. It's like actually having friends in the industry that do what you do, but they do something different. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, it's like you're both entertainers, but this guy's David Copperfield and he does magic, and then you rap. But it's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a shitty analogy, but you get what I'm saying. It's like all the different types of genres of music. But yeah, Every Time I Die, those guys are fucking rad. They're, them, Motionless, Unearthed. Just I can keep going. Kubla Khan, fucking Chelsea Grin, all those guys. Like they really ended up being really solid dudes. That used just like people that we've listened to their music. I mean, we're not ignorant. We know who these bands are. We were secretly fans of a few of them. You know what I mean? And to actually be on that level and get treated like peers, that's something that to me is priceless.
That's awesome to hear. It definitely, it was just, like I said, it was really cool to kind of see the change, the very quick change in mindset and perception from a lot of people that you were on tour with. Because I still feel like if there would be another Warped Tour, I know it was the last cross country run or whatever, but I still feel like if there would have been another Warped Tour, I feel I'd like to be hella presumptuous and say that we would have kept that energy going and would have and continue to spread the word of Twiztid as we do every day. But that gave us such a great platform to do it. And many new people got to hear us and see us for the first time ever. So that's just something that's definitely been a high point in our career so far. So kind of wanted to stick to the Halloween theme a little bit since we're so close to Halloween. You guys got your new masks coming out for Halloween, inspired by the makeup on your latest record. How does that whole process begin? Like, do you search out a company and be like, hey, we're thinking about doing these masks, and how do we do this? Or does someone approach you to do that?
There was a couple different scenarios, because I mean, obviously, with us being a novelty band, or how they like to say it, or theatrical band rather, novelties are really big with us, and we've been approached by people in the past to do ventures like that, to do masks and novelties and stuff like that, and then we've actually done the other half, and we've reached out to people, and then it's just, at that point, it's just a matter of researching your options that are on the table and going with the best. And I want to say that we went with the best. Well, the mask makers that we use, they got quality products. They actually, I'm not allowed to say, and I won't say the names for legality purposes, but the people who made our masks manufacture masks for other mask companies that put their tags on them.
Right.
So that's cool. Knowing that insider secret, I was extremely proud to be like, yeah, these are the guys to make our product, because I know that masks erode over time. That was the big thing back in the day with the Ben Cooper masks and stuff like that. The materials they use decay. And one of the new things that they've been trying to do in the progressive mask making field is give the product longevity so it holds up better over time. And these guys just have they really give a shit. And that's what we do. We give a shit. So we love to work with people that have that same integrity and love for what they do.
Now, going through the process of something like that, obviously I can imagine you get various prototypes and so forth, but are you like literally putting these on and being like, oh, I don't like how this thing feels? Or are you just kind of more trusting these professionals to just do what they do and kind of critique more like the visual of it?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's like, and in the beginning stages, it was just like, wow, how's this going to work out and whatever. And as you've seen, like, yeah, we would pre-approve like paint apps and stuff like that. And then at one point they did send out a couple products, actual physical products we could try on or whatever. And it was just, we're kids in a candy store, man. It's like, with this, everything is just like fucking, holy shit, this is actually happening. This is real. Like, we are holding our fucking endorsed mask. This is really cool.
Yeah, that's a very interesting venture. I mean, I know typically, you guys are very good at branding and putting out interesting merch. Like, something I've always thought that anyone really within the Juggalo realm has done is have a really good sense of being tapped into their fans and what they want and giving them exactly what they want, but not skimping on any of the quality, because they understand, like, you're paying your hard-earned money to get these things, and that's not an oversight on your guys' end.
Well, what's important to us is for me and Monoxide, we're collectors and of things, of very many things, and I agree with you. When you spend your hard-earned money on products, you want them to be the very best they can be, and that integrity value goes with everything as well. Because even when we go with our like our merchandising and stuff like that, we're trying on different products. We're trying to push the envelope and get new styles of clothing in, because it's been like, the traditional black T-shirt. That's something that I've been arguing and lobbying for a while, is to try to incorporate new styles of T-shirts, like ringer tees and the jersey baseball tees of the 70s, shit like that, to splash a little bit of colors into some of the stuff we do. And we're really hands-on with a lot of the stuff we do, because we want it to be the very best. We've heard horror stories about buying jerseys from people and the patches falling off because they're just simply spray glued on and ironed on. It's like we really get involved. We want everything triple stitched and make sure that the shit's tight, the shit washes well. I mean, we're weird like that, John. We give a shit.
Oh, I work for a pretty big screen printing company here in Grand Rapids, and I definitely see the trends and what's happening, and for a while, like that bleach, the bleached look and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting on my end to see all that kind of stuff, and I notice that you guys are always pretty much right along with the trends in traditional clothing.
We really do. We do. We try to stay current with everything at the same time. I feel that we owe that to the fans and the listeners, as well as to stay current with what we do, as well as always, keeping our brand relevant. That's really important to us. because we know how easily people can get lost in the sauce. Some of our favorite bands, I ask myself, where the fuck did they go?
Right. Yeah.
They were victim to the sand dial.
Something else kind of
Right.
related to the mask and the makeup and stuff. I've kind of noticed, and especially on, I noticed it on Warped, like I said, since I basically saw videos and pictures of you pretty much every day.
Sure.
Your face paint changes seemingly daily.
Sometimes, yeah. When we were trying to do different things. Again, you know what I mean? It's like, it all depends on what's going on. Sometimes get crazy and erratic and make different weird stuff up. But yeah, hell yeah. And about the makeup too, I thought you were going to say about the seance talent that we had as well too, because that was a different venture too for us, and something that we decided to branch out and do as well. Because with us being a painted band, it was almost a no-brainer to actually have a legitimate eyeshadow palette and try to expand that and branch that way as well.
Okay, so like that's a different avenue that I don't think a lot of male-based bands would probably even go into. So what does that look like? Like who do you approach for something like that?
We talk to it just like with the masks and anything else we do. We have our warehouse manager and our marketing guy sit down and talk to the people, the very best of the upper echelon of people that we can get in touch with, and do the sample game. And then obviously, people pass it around to their girls and their wives and their daughters, and as well as us the guys in the band who wear makeup as well, and see what looks good on your skin, what can you not see through, and what covers well. And the big thing too is we're trying to be conscious of that as well. I don't want to be ignorant to that too, because we live in a society where everybody's all they're worried about the chicken if it hurts itself when it lays the egg. So we got to make sure there's no animal cruelty things and stuff like that. I think one of our pallets in the red, it had crushed beetle wings. So we're sorry to the beetles that were harmed, but it's cruelty free. You know what I mean? And vegan is another big thing too. We're trying to. We're not trying to assure you the beetles were already dead before their wings were grind. I appreciate that, nevertheless. But now knowledge is power, and we were very adamant about making it as absolutely cruelty free as we possibly can. And even in our best efforts to do that, we're still a learning in process kind of a venture when it comes to stuff like that. So like we're starting to now figure out the making it vegan and making it more of a welcoming product to everyone, because everyone has their own needs and wants, and we don't want to say that anyone's is any less important than another's.
Totally. So I've been trying to figure out how to ask this question because I had King Gordy on a while ago,
Okay.
and a statement he made ended up making some news.
Okay.
And I know that you guys ended up sharing it, which I wanted to say thank you, because a lot of people who are even guests on my podcast don't share it. So the fact that you weren't even on, you were just mentioned, and ended up sharing the episode with King Gordy, meant a lot. So thank you for that. But
No worries. That's awesome. Thank you for having me on.
I don't know if you actually checked it out or maybe potentially saw the comment that was said that made some news. But if you did, I wanted to see if you maybe had wanted to talk to you about it, because it kind of, we've been talking about you guys as a brand and as a band and as a business and making correct business decisions that will allow you to keep doing this at a high level for a lot longer. And so I'm going to assume you probably don't know what was said or probably don't remember, but I don't,
to be honest, I don't know. When you speak of Gordy says a lot of crazy shit. So everything that Gordy says, I always throw out a disclaimer with it that I may or may not understand what he's saying at any given time.
Okay.
No, he's a great guy. What did he say? Tell me what he said so I can follow up with you.
Okay, so basically he had said that he thinks that a good business model that the ICP guy should have used for you was to kind of realize that you were the talent that would allow the label to grow and continue to be successful with a younger demographic, and that they need to kind of step back a little bit. and make what they do more special, because they were not necessarily oversaturating themselves, but just there's kind of a point when you're running a business that, maybe you need to like let your ego step aside a little bit and do what's best for business. And he was kind of saying that he didn't feel that that's what was working, but that's what makes NME work so well right now, is that it is a family in all sense of, the word. And so, since obviously I have the ability to ask you, do you feel that, based on what King Gordy said, do you feel like that is an accurate representation of how you have chosen to run your label and how you work with your artists on it because of what you experienced other places?
First and foremost, I would say that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and no matter how factual I believe my personal opinion is over anyone else's, no one will ever tell me different, and I'm sure that's the same of Gordy and his opinion, or you and your opinion, or whoever and whatever. Personally, I feel that everything that we've ever done in our life has been a learning experience. Me and Monoxide are a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I believe any situation that I've ever been put in, be it bad, good, uncomfortable, was all part of a greater learning experience, and to take that knowledge with us and make it part of our skill suit of what we have. I think that to say that those things shape the people that we are would be a true statement. And I'd have to say, due to the fact that where we came from and how we've learned ever since we started doing music, you know what I mean? I cut vocals differently today than I did when I started. Right. I have more integrity in what I do today than, when I started. So everything is a learning process, but I will totally say that we utilize a lot of the things that we've learned at our time with Psychopathic, as well as everything else. You know what I mean? As well as, but that's the thing. We don't limit our knowledge of business to just one demographic. I think right. that's something that MNE does differently. Like we try to make sure that we keep just what we learned, what we just talked about from the Warped Tour. Yeah. Keep things in a more of a diverse avenue, so that you don't oversaturate yourself in one particular thing. Like, we've been very prevalent over these last 3 to 5 years of working ourselves into the horror community and becoming more of a part with like Fangora and Rumor and Horror Hound and Days of the Dead and Rock and Shock and all these prevalent, really, really powerhouse horror community things, because at the end of the day, Monoxide and I are a horror movie on wax. So right. Why would we not be a part of this ever special world that coexisted rather without us in the beginning?
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, me and Paul were influenced by Evil Dead and Michael Myers movies from 1978 before there was even a Juggalo community. So we were influenced by these things that are still a very, very big vehicle in the horror community today, and ever changing. We just seen Halloween last night.
I haven't seen it. How is it?
Evolution. Don't ask me. I'm not. I'm not a good. I'm torn. But what I will say is, I will always celebrate and endorse any horror, anybody who has the balls or the gonads to actually put out a horror effort in this day and age. I will go to the movie theater and see it. I don't care if it's fucking Ring You Part 4. I don't care if it's Chucky 15. I don't give a fuck if it's, Freddy Krueger Part 8, bitch. I'm going to go see it. I will celebrate it. And even if it's shitty, I will still go and celebrate it, because if we don't, then they'll stop greenlighting these things and we won't have a horror community.
It's funny. I've used that reference basically, or that parallel to the Juggalo scene compared to the rest of the regular quote-unquote music scene, because for everyone that wants to shit on it, I'd be like, if the rest of the fans were as supportive of insert whatever band here, the music scene maybe not be so shitty.
It's true. But the thing is what we've learned is you can't force people to like something.
No.
That's the thing. It's like people have a natural attraction to something, and if they like it, they're compelled and they'll come to it, and if there's something there and there's substance, they'll keep coming back. They'll enjoy it and they'll return to it. But when you force people's hand and you make them like something, or you tell someone if they don't like something that they're not a part of something, that's when you start losing people. You know what I mean? Like, I was never told that if I don't like Frankenstein, then, you know, I can't be down with the Wolfman. You know, that's just retarded. And I mean that in every sense of the word. But, you know, it's like, but that's what a lot of our community had turned into, you know, and somehow through the smoke of all the bullshit, we're trying to rebrand, reface, and rebuild the Juggalo community in a good way. And try to, if it's even possible, wash off some of the shit stigmas that we've been tattooed over the years.
Right. Yeah, that definitely comes across. And like you said, in the last, I would say 5 years or so, it seems like there's a concerted effort to change the perception of you, your fans, your music.
Because there's a lot of wishy-washy back and forth things that the outside world sees that's not a part of the community, and if all you see is whatever news station you watch, then you're going to be biased to the news that you're fed.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? So it's like, and a lot of these parents of juggalos, as well as juggalos and juggalettes themselves, have been victim of that very thing, of just being fed false bullshit, and they carry that with them, and that's what creates a lot of these stigmas, and that's what we are trying to rebuild.
Yeah. Last couple of questions for you, so I can let you get back to your day. You know, I kind of wondered, although, you know, is there any chance of doing another Fatso record? Even though I think you're gonna have to change the name of the album at that point.
Well, no, anything's possible. I'll say that anything's possible. But I always did that, and from the get go, and that's why it was PHATSO, Fatso, like meaning like it was always about what's inside, not what's outside. Unfortunately, at that point in my life, I was wearing a lot more outside than inside. But the skills have remained. The weight may shift and come back and forth, but the skills stay prevalent, I hope.
There you go.
Right on.
You know, I know obviously you're dropping Trick or Treat in 3 days on the 26th.
Yep.
Obviously, you have the Record Store Day release, the picture disc coming out. You talked about, you know, working on this new album. For fans who are listening, like, is there at least can you say, like, you know, probably in the first couple of months of the year, like a projected time frame of when you would like to get it out?
What I won't do is I won't give you a date that I can't fulfill. What I will do is I will tell you that we're shooting for the middle of next year. Okay. So that's the tentative ballpark of where we're shooting for. The album is about 3/4 done as we speak. There's a lot of material that didn't make the record that's just kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for cool shit. There's also this Friday coming up, today being Tuesday, this Friday in less than like 3 days, we got a special Trick or Treat EP coming out. It has some brand new music, and I'll be the first one to tell you, no one knows this, but it has like 3 brand new tracks from House of Crazies. I don't know if you know about that. It's an OG band that where we originated from. It's like a little, again, like I told you, more. We try to. I guess I don't like the word reward. It sounds weird, but like try to always keep content and cool shit for the people who have been with us through the longest. You know what I mean? Keep that content there and keep something to come back for. Same shit I said from before, but so that's coming out on the 26th. That'll be this Friday, New Music Friday from Official Twiztid, and some new material, some remixes, some rarities, some fun shit. So make sure if you guys are listening, you keep your eyes peeled to I want to say Facebook is probably, or any of the digital platforms that'll have that EP up there.
Okay. And then
as well, in the midst of recording a record. No rest for the wicked, John. No rest for the wicked.
Dude, I hear you. I'm always working. And then you guys are also doing a tour right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. I mean, you're going to be here in Grand Rapids on Monday at the Stash, which I don't think I've seen you guys at the Stash or the Intersection in a little while, so I think it'll be kind of a nice return for you guys.
Yeah. it's different doing the Grand Rapids shows. It's I know it's Michigan, but it's so far away, and it's a different crowd, so it's always fun.
Lastly, I'll kind of have you. Fright Fest, I think, is like other than the tour you're on currently, which it wraps up on October 31st. So you got like about another week or so of this tour, and then the last 2 dates of it though are in Detroit, and is it Sauget or Sauget? I've heard people say it both ways.
I say Sauget, Illinois, but yeah, those last 2, the Devil's Night and Halloween, are with Motionless in White. Those are going to be really big shows. Again, just something to try to raise the bar for all of our listeners and everybody that's been with us all this time, and to still continue that family vibe from the Warped Tour. We actually got Chelsea Grin's going to be on one of the shows as well.
Yep.
Just kind of keeping that family vibe going, man, and getting to see some of our buds and play some really good music for all those in attendance.
Any chance that maybe some of the new material might pop up at either of those 2 shows for longtime fans?
It's possible. It's possible. I talked with people about maybe giving away a CD, but I don't know if that actually made it to a reality. I don't know. I'm hearing no. You'll just have in the midst of all that, you'll be getting all the new music on the 26th. So
right.
Hopefully you'll have enough in your iPod or your iPad or your earbuds or whatever the fuck you listen to tide you over for another few months until we get to the 2018. Or 2019, rather.
Yeah.
2019.
I know.
Good Christ. I feel like Buck Rogers from the 2020. No, Buck Rogers is not being a porn star. Young motherfuckers on the crew don't even know who Buck Rogers is, making me feel dated. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
that's okay. I made a Doug Funny reference the other day, and knowing who that was, and I was like, okay.
He knows. All right, fair enough. It happens.
So lastly, I'd like to, where can people find you and or Twiztid online? And then I will have you pick a song to end the episode out to.
Okay, you can check us out on Twitter. We have the greatest Twitter handle ever in the world, @TweetMeSoHard. And Facebook and Instagram is @OfficialTwiztid. I'm going to say that Facebook is the Uber hub for everything Twiztid. That's where you can find out all of where we're going to be, what we got going on, when the new shit's dropping. It also will take you to Twiztid Shop and Magic Ninja Entertainment, which is our record label and our exclusive web store that has all the good products, all the limited weekend only kind of deals and all the shit that we have coming out. So, yeah, that's the number one source. And then you said pick a song?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Any song in the world?
As long as I can find it online, yes.
Okay, Helter Skelter by Motley Crue.
Oh,
it's
man.
a Halloween song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the Beatles one, but I don't think the Beatles...
I don't like that
Beatles
one as much.
Hey, I don't either, man. Something about that Shout at the Devil version of Helter Skelter was pretty cool. And I've been watching these Manson family documentary tutorials at night when I go to sleep for my Halloween nighttime viewing pleasure. So that's where I'm at with it. Helter Skelter. Write something witchy on the wall like Helter Skelter.
So that was my conversation with Jamie Madrox from Twiztid, and I really had a good time doing that conversation. It was kind of put together really spur of the moment. Had about a day really to prepare for it. And, the thing, like I said in the intro, and as I've said before, that makes these really fun is when the guest comes on and they're willing to have fun and they're willing to answer questions and not be timid and stiff. And I don't know, I sent this interview to Dan earlier, like pretty much as soon as I got done with it, because I was like, dude, we got to get this up. Like, this has got to be Wednesday's episode. And I think he agreed with me once he kind of got into it. He was just like, oh, I liked right away how he was like, can I cuss?
Yeah. That was funny. And yeah, it sounded like the dude had just drank like 20 Monster energy drinks, before the interview, because he was just so like into it, like right away. And I found his whole demeanor to be very enjoyable and very entertaining to listen to.
Well, that's why he's very entertaining and enjoyable to watch.
Right.
I mean, makes sense.
I haven't gotten that far yet, but YouTube's the thing. I could probably pull up some videos and
that is true.
And watch.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I think the thing that's always kind of a trip for me, and I probably echoed these same sentiments when doing the King Gordy episode. I spoke to how fanatic the Juggalos are in supporting the artists that they love. And it makes it really hard for me to do some of these interviews because, like, I'm not that fanatic about these guys. Like I said earlier, living here in Michigan, I'm very aware of a lot of the people that are associated with, these artists. I know more than probably, we'll say you, Dan, but I'm also not as knowledgeable as, say, if we were talking about Every Time I Die. And
Right.
I have no qualms with saying that, which is why I tapped my friend again, Andy Holmes, to help me. I basically have him as almost as my Juggalo consultant. We go to a bar, I sit down with him, and I go, okay, here are questions I'm thinking about asking. Is this a stupid question? Like, if you heard Jamie get asked this question in an interview, would you be like, man, fuck this kid, he don't know shit, this is a stupid question, he should have asked this? And I go, what are some questions, you would like to ask that would lead to maybe potentially interesting stories? And it's really good, I think, to do that, to understand that you don't know everything, because sometimes that's hard. You can't know everything about everything. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be willing to take a risk and if you find something interesting, want to learn more about it. And
Right.
that was kind of the fun challenge of doing this. Like, Andy was telling me, like, okay, they got these 3 songs, they're releasing them, and another one's coming out on Friday. Spoiler alert, you all are getting a fucking EP.
Right.
But all that being said, like, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, are they doing something special with this? Like, are they doing, like, why are they releasing this trilogy? Is it just a Halloween thing? Is there a bigger plan ahead with it? Like, do you know if they've been, like, dropping little clues that they're going to do? Like, I actually was like, are they dropping this as, like, an EP, like, with some extra songs? Or he goes, no, it's just individual songs. And I was like, oh, okay. So then to find out I was more right with my line of thinking, because, I mean, typically that's how people in the music industry work. It's never like, okay, you get a song, you get a song, you get a song. And it's like, well, there's usually a plan ahead of time to, like, throw these all together as a collection. But all that being said, I just wanted to not waste Jamie's time, not waste any of the fans' times in listening to me ask questions that maybe they're like, this was stupid.
Yeah. I don't think I think it just went like a good conversation between, I always say between friends, but I mean, that is kind of what these interviews turn into after a while, is it's just like people get so comfortable talking to you that it just becomes a conversation and less of an interview, which I think is 100% the appeal.
I try.
I know you're not allowed to say that, but I can say that.
Yes.
So
I mean, like, that story about Warped Tour that he was saying, like, I had actually asked Andy, I was like, weren't they on Warped Tour before? And he goes, I don't think so. And I was like, okay. And then so, when Jamie was like, oh yeah, so we were on Warped Tour back in, like, '05 and had shit thrown at us and all this kind of stuff, I was like, oh god, I feel so dumb now. Like, I thought I knew that, but I could have Googled that like 2 more seconds and I wouldn't have looked so foolish. But then I feel like because of my perceived foolishness, a really cool story came about that I've never heard, about how Kevin reached out to them to try to basically make that shitty experience for them right and have them have what most bands get as their Warped Tour experience.
that blew my mind, though, with that story that, like, people were basically pushing sand into bottles and throwing them at them.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me. But again, it kind of reinforces what we were talking about in the intro. That, like, man, really, like, not only did you weren't into it, so you didn't just go get a beer, or just go hang out with some friends or go look for some merch or something from a band you do like. Instead, you're like, no, I'm gonna take this bottle that I have and I'm gonna stuff sand into it. I'm gonna throw it at these guys because they had the audacity to play music that I didn't like.
For anyone who listened to the King Gordy episode who may remember this podcast for that, I do want to say and take a moment to also thank Jamie for taking the time to answer my question about the sentiment that was said by King Gordy on that episode, basically about learning how to know what's better for your brand and for your business, depending on how that looks. And I'm purposely kind of being vague and not mentioning a name or another label, another sort of brand, because that just feels a little more honest and sincere and treating it with the class and respect that Jamie did as well. But I think that was the thing that I knew it was going to be kind of a hard question to ask respectfully, but I was more impressed with the fact that Jamie answered it in like 3 different parts, like broke it down in 2 to 3 different parts, articulated it very well, and had nothing bad to say, and was still able to be positive about all of it. And I think it speaks to what I was saying in the intro too, about how that's how I'm trying to just be as a person. Because you know what? When you hear someone speak like that, it just makes them sound so much smarter and better, because it's like they're not taking an opportunity to take the low road and bury somebody to make themselves look better. And to me, that's so commendable. And so I just want to take a moment and just say, you know, hey, Jamie, hats off. Like, I'm not wearing a hat, but bro, hats off. Thank you for answering that question sincerely and with the grace that you did. A lot of other people probably wouldn't have, but I think that speaks to what you guys have been doing and how you're growing everything that you guys are doing over the last handful of years.
Yeah, that was literally one of the most well-articulated answers I'd heard, without like really getting into it.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of goes to show the amount of maturity from someone like an outsider like me wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show when you make assumptions about people, hopefully those assumptions get thrown back in your face.
Like a bottle of sand.
Just like a squishy bottle of sand from Warped Tour. Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, I think after all that gushy sentiment stuff, I think that's a good place as any to kind of wrap this episode up. If you would like to keep up with the Twiztid guys, they're currently on tour right now. They have about a week left. They are stopping in Grand Rapids, Michigan on the 29th, which is this upcoming Monday, as of when you are listening to this. And it ends, they're doing 2 Halloween shows on October 30th in Detroit at the Majestic, and on the 31st in Sauget, Illinois at Pops. You know, I think if nothing more, I would love to say this. If them being on Warped Tour allows them to have the opportunity to play with some really interesting bands and create very diverse lineups, it really is going to fucking excite me, because that's what it used to be like in the late 90s, early 2000s, like seeing bands like Biohazard and Typo Negative tour together, or seeing, you know, as John was saying, like you have a band like Pitch Shifter and like Napalm Death playing with each other, and it's like mixed bills that are completely different like that, or how you expose yourself or other people to music that they may not know they like. And to me, that's what's fucking great. And it's happening a lot right now. You're seeing a band like Bring Me the Horizon taking out the Fever on their upcoming run. Fall Out Boy taking all these different artists that they've been taking on this run. Like, I'm really fucking excited with seeing these artists taking, like Jamie said, it's not about like, oh, we need to make this amount of money. The money will fucking work itself out. Let's just fucking do cool shit and people will come. And I think that's the way it needs to be. That's how music, and live music especially, needs to be. Fuck the money. Make it fun. Because you know what? As a fan of going to live shows, that's going to get me excited to go to a show. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to drop stupid money at that show.
No doubt.
If you'd like to keep up with them, you can find them at Twiztid.com. Find their shop at Twiztid-shop.com. Instagram is official Twiztid. Facebook, you can just find them at Facebook.com, Twiztid. And yeah, the Twitter handle, so fucking good. Tweet me so hard. It's a fucking great handle. Dan, where can people follow you?
You can tweet me super hard, I guess, as well, at Discuss Metal Dan. And you can find me on Facebook under Daniel Terry, and you can find my other podcast at discussmetal.com.
And if you would like to keep up with all things the podcast, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Jonsuntitledpodcast. Tweet at us at Jonsuntitledpod. And you can email me at jonsuntitledpod@gmail.com. And if you would like to keep up with our show partner at Moshpit Nation, you can find them on moshpitnation.com. Facebook is Moshpit Nation West, capital M-I. Twitter and Instagram are simply Moshpit Nation. And you can keep up with our show sponsor, The Bean Bastard, over at thebeanbastard.com, where you can order any and all of the delicious coffees that Nicholas is doing over there. And you can keep up with them on Facebook and Instagram at The Bean Bastard. And we're going to play this episode out as we always do, and as you heard Jamie picked one of my favorite fucking bands of all time, and I couldn't think of a more apropos song to end that out to, other than Motley Crue's Helter Skelter. So we're going to leave you with that, and we will be back on Sunday with Stephen Richards of Taproot.